All right. I believe we are going live. Going live. Um, all right, hold on. Let me just send out a message. I am excited. Let me send a message to my group and then I'll be right with you. This is the very first time I am doing this. Bear with me. All right. All right. Welcome to the show. This is the first live stream. I don't have a name for this live stream yet. Anyone who knows me, my name is Moyo Okome. I have been in the app business for years and years and years. Lately, like probably most of you, I've started dibbling and dabbling with AI and using that to help me with my business. Um, so I did I was supposed to have a guest on with me today, a friend, Lisa. I was going to help her with her app growth. Unfortunately, she did cancel today. So that's the first curveball that I'm experiencing in my streaming career. But guess what? The show has to go on, and I still want to have um, a great show. Just give me a second. Let me pull up my notes so I know what I want to talk about today. Um, so yeah, I'm excited. This is my this a new platform for me. I don't even have a name for it yet. It's that fresh. And the whole reason why I'm doing this is because, I've experienced that when I produce content, usually written content, and I share it out, it just creates such a surface area for serendipity, where I don't know. Sometimes people get something from it, and I've had so many different opportunities come out of it. Been able to connect with different people, help different people, and as the world has gone more and more video, I find that that's not a platform that I've been on or where I have anything that I own, and sometimes I have something to say. So I want this to be the place where I can come and just say these things, right? I want it to be very, very casual. You know, I didn't want to have, because I put so much of my time into um, working on my business, and that's really where my focus is, and it just takes so much time and energy. I want this to be something that's completely organic, relaxed, and I can really just talk. I want to be able to come here and share what's going on with the business. I want to be able to help people with their issue. That's what I intended to do today. So even though that's not going to happen, maybe so we're not going to talk about her particular business and her particular problem, but she wanted to talk about app growth. So we can still talk about app growth. I'll still do some of that today. So, I want that to be a recurring thing that happens. Oftentimes people will hit me up with those kind of questions and want to do a one-on-one call. Um, I would much rather do the same type of call. I end up having the same call, giving the same information to people over and over and over. It'd be a lot more efficient. I know that not everybody likes it, but if I could just share that information one time and reach many people. So we'll see if that happens on the show. I would love for that to happen on the show. Um, Another thing, another reason I want to have it is to be able to bring people on the show and help me to learn. I want to be selfish sometimes, right? So by having a platform, sometimes people um, will be more willing to have a conversation with you and come on and share information. And so, yeah, I kind of want this to be my yacht that I can invite people to. That's another reason for having this. And yeah, I don't know. Hopefully that helps to explain. Um, Hopefully that helps to explain. Now, um, I also want to be a place where I can share stories, like going through, being in the there's so many just wild things that happen. Going back to 2011, 2012, and yeah, I think sometimes I do type them up on LinkedIn, and they tend to get a good response. But sometimes I would like to speak about them long form. So I'm gonna try to take the opportunity to do that. Um, Let me see. So yeah, hopefully that helps give some perspective on why this show. I'm hoping it can be a place that is a little bit educational, a little bit entertaining, and people like it. But if not, it can at least be a place where I come on and have a good time and just talk about what I want to talk about, and yeah, that'll be it. So um, yeah, so even though we're not having the guest on today, let's just talk a little bit about how do we grow apps in 2026, right? So I think that we've come to a place where it's much easier to build an app than it was when I started. So back in 2011, if you didn't have technical skills yourself and you want to build a mobile app, then you'd probably either go to a platform like freelancer.com or upwork.com. It was called odesk.com back then. And you would put out a job request and interview a bunch of people and, eventually choose somebody, start working with them and go through several iterations, pay them hundreds or thousands of dollars, get a product, iterate, and put it out, goes to the market, and you need to have them make some updates. And that's just kind of how it went. Or you could go ahead, put yourself in the different rooms and situations you need to be in order to find a technical co-founder and work with them to develop the product and do that. Sometimes that could be pretty hard because if people have that technical skill, they're in high demand, and lots of people want them to build their app, or they want to build their own app. Nowadays, the technology has gotten so good that we're in a pretty exciting place, I think, where you really can build just about anything that you imagine. So now the challenges become different. It's not, I mean, if let's say you've never built anything before, it still may seem challenging to get started, but trust me, it's much easier to go from to get something out there that actually works, that actually provides value that people can use. It's way easier if you're excited about it. If it's something that you want to do and you actually put in a month or two or three, I believe that you're going to solve it today, just with tools like Claude and Chat GPT, and there's one called Rourke I haven't used, but the tools are out there for you to get the job done. So the challenge becomes, number one, hey, like what should now that I can build anything, what should I actually build? What is worth my time to build? And I actually do spend a lot of time on that. And then number two, just as critical, if not more, like how do I get my thing out there and get it in front of the people that need it? um how do I distribute and sell my stuff? Distribution is so huge, and um a lot of people, I think, don't think about that part of the game enough. And I guess in business there are endless ways to distribute your product depending on your industry and your skill sets, and I guess where the different where your target customer lives and hangs out. But in the App Store, which where I play, there are a few typical ways that people are doing it now. So one of them is App Store optimization. So App Store optimization is just pretty much you're getting found through search. When people search on the App Store, they're typing in keywords. Hey, I want to find a fitness tracker. I want to find a um, I want to find something to count. Why am I doing only health apps? I want to find something to I don't know, help me with my poetry. I want to find a journaling app, right? So people are typing in keywords, and you're optimizing your metadata. So like the title of the app, the title, subtitle, the keyword field, the screenshots, the icon, and you're doing everything you can to try to help people just find your app and use your app. So there's App Store optimization, there's paid apps, so not paid apps, paid ads, or what else would you call that? Yeah, paid advertising. So that could be through Meta's the big one. It could be through Google. Could be through TikTok. And now there's Apple ads as well. Well, let me not say now, but I think it's become, m- at least as far as I'm aware, it's become more of a viable channel. So, um, yeah, so paid advertising. Um, there are, you can use content creators like user generated content. So that's when you either you yourself as the founder or creators that you're working with just post content and use the algorithm to be found. And they're kind of like two flavors of that. You can do it where you're approaching large influencers and you're kind of paying to reach their already built base of followers or fans, and um, that'll tend to be more expensive since you're reaching out to people with a bunch of followers and they put a value on that. um, One way to do it. Then the other way is you're working with a bunch of smaller creators and it's really more about the content there and the way that the algorithms work. Like TikTok, I believe, was the first to really innovate this. um, so I think they call it like interest-based marketing. Yeah, I guess interest-based marketing is a good way to put it. So, you know, in the past, whereas you more so relied on the number of followers somebody had, and um, it's like people build up their followers so that they can send out a message and reach some percentage of them, and that can kind of provide the marketing push, and that still can work. What people can do nowadays as well is just use the content to be the thing that pulls in the audience. So regardless of the size of the person's following, if the content is good enough and it appeals to people within the target audience of that product or that service, or just the content, like the platform will just initially like test sending the content out to a smaller group of people. um, if they're kind of sending this, they're liking it, they're commenting, they're resonating with it, they're lingering on it longer than they would if they weren't interested, then it will just keep on pushing it out to more people, keep on pushing it out to more people. And so that's another way that you can use to distribute your app. And yeah, lots of people are doing that, especially um, I think it's more popular with people who are younger and more familiar with how like TikTok works. And now it's not just TikTok either. Now, you know, everybody's trying to like TikTokify their algorithm. Instagram's doing the same thing. Um, you know, Facebook, Instagram, same company, but I believe Reels work in a similar way. YouTube Shorts work in a similar way. Everybody's just trying to do that interest-based marketing thing, and you can leverage that to push out your app. But I guess the main thing about it is just that you have to choose something. You can't just build the app and then think that that's going to be enough to get in most cases. Maybe if you're like a famous person, or I'm not sure, but even then, you're really not just depending on just the app. You're depending on your fame in that case. But there has to be something that you're doing to get the product out there. Otherwise, it's just not likely to be successful unless you just get really, really, really lucky, right? So for me, the main way, so I've depended on App Store optimization for a long time, and I still do. But the way I kind of approach it now, if you watch Steve Young's App Masters podcast, shout out to Steve. I kind of approach things in a similar way to how he does it. And what we like to do is to kind of look for the demand first, and then build, rather than say build your app, you have your idea, you build the app, and then you try to figure out how to market the app. um, we do it in reverse. It's like you find the demand, you find out what people are looking for, right? Steve and I like to use uh, keywords. So there are all these different um, ASO tools, after optimization tools. I like Mobile Action. I've used AppTweak in the past. It's quite expensive, but if you start doing a lot of business, then it can start to be worth it. There's ASO Mobile, which I don't use. There's AppFollow, which I don't use. Right now I pretty much use Mobile Action, and I like it, but I think you can theoretically use any one of these tools. What's important is just that it's going to give you some type of score around the demand or volume. Sometimes it's called a search score, volume score. I think I just made up demand score, but it is measuring demand. Um, you need that. Then you need some kind of measure of competition or difficulty. Mobile Action gives you difficulty and chance. To me, I, I'm still not clear on how they're different, but they are in some way. But they're both measuring how hard it is for you to rank for a particular keyword. And so for me, what I'm looking for, I'm looking for keyword search terms that have some level of demand, have people already looking for them, and then hopefully also have a low to moderate level of competition. So if you take, for example, me and my biz partner Nate, we have an app called Style Share. It's an app that helps women try on different hairstyles. Clearly, we're the perfect founders for this app. Um, but um, yeah, when we were thinking about what we wanted to build, he came to me with a concept. So I started looking for, like, are there keywords that fit that, like, how do people search for this, right? And I think it so happened, I don't know, I'd somehow been aware of some of these search terms or seen them throughout my travels and my research, and I went and I looked it up, and I found some more, and I saw that there were some high volume terms, and the competition, there was certainly competition, and there were people there making money, which we actually do like to see. It kind of proves, okay, um, there's already there are people valuing um, this type of app already. There are people willing to spend on it. So we saw that there was a presence, but it wasn't overwhelming. It wasn't super saturated to where there were like a thousand different apps all doing the same thing, and super high quality with funded companies, and we're not going to be able to compete. We saw, okay, we think there's an opportunity to probably step in and do a better job, or approach it from a different angle. And I think that you can pretty much do that in any space. As you either you're just strictly starting from the keywords, and then you're thinking about, okay, like, do I want to build something for these keywords, or you're starting from your ideas and saying, um are there when I look at the terms that people would use to search for an idea like mine, are people searching for it already or are they not, right? And if they're searching for it, you know, is am I, if I put my best foot forward, am I going to be able to compete over a certain period of time? And that's something you're going to get better at judging, like depending on how much time you've been doing this. um it's going to take some judgment. But like, for me, like let's say um I, I had to come in and, in order for me to win, I have to beat Nike and Adidas. Like that's not the opportunity for me, right? I'd rather compete with somebody like me who's an individual developer, or um smaller teams with less resources, and that kind of thing. I'm not saying I'll never compete with larger companies, because like I, I will and we do, but my preference would be to go against smaller, weaker competition when I can, right? So yeah, going. I guess the main thing, the main takeaway here is I like to find the demand first, and then like, because it is so much easier to build now, like build for that demand. And a perfect example of this is this week. You know, I decided I was going to build an app, a migraine tracker app. I became aware of the keyword. Man, I'm gonna mention gonna mention Steve again, Steve Young. So it's funny. He has an episode of his podcast where he was talking to a friend of mine, James, and James kept bringing me up, and he was like, "All right, you got to stop mentioning Moyo." But so now I'm mentioning Steve. So Steve, I'm paying you back, man. So Steve had an episode where he found this app called Migraine Buddy, and Migraine Buddy is a migraine tracker. It's the top one in the space. That they're doing pretty great now. I think they got like 30, 40,000 downloads last month and made $70,000 last month. So, if you're an independent developer like myself, those are probably pretty good numbers that you'd be pretty happy with, or even, coming in behind them. And when you look at their main keyword, which is migraine tracker, um, they're doing those huge numbers, but like after them, there may be two other competitors who are smaller than them and who are clearly putting an effort in and doing a great job. But then afterwards, the competition is pretty weak. So, for me, that's the kind of opportunity I look at and say, all right, I don't mind trying to compete there. And because, I have the magic of Claude, which I have, you have, everybody has, um, I can put together a first, I put together the first version of that app within a few days this week, including, the app itself, the design, the app icon, the screenshots. And mind you, I've been working on this for a while, but it's actually gotten to the point where like sometimes it can take me longer to and I think this is part of this is because of context switching. You know, it can take me longer to actually do the screenshots for the app, right? Like actually sit down and map out five or six or 10 of those, and make it look nice and get my messaging across. It can take me longer to do that than it does to build the whole app, which is kind of crazy. And when I say that, I'm not like a believer in the, hey, you just give one prompt and it's going to build the whole app thing. I mean, I guess maybe technically you can sometimes, but the way I tend to do that is like I'll have a conversation with Claude. I like working with Claude, and I have Claude. I'll tell Claude what's on my mind. We'll evaluate the opportunity, and if it's something I want to move forward with, then we'll like we'll flesh out a plan together, and Claude will put together a plan based on what we talked about. I'll look over the plan. I might have some corrections, some things I want to do differently. I want to skip. I want to add to it, and only when we agree on the plan do we start moving forward. And I like to just take on the work chunk by chunk. Um, Claude builds this phase or this subtask, and then once it builds it, then you know I'll go ahead and fire it up, have it build on my device, see how it's working, verify we don't have bugs, like things are going as I expected. If everything's cool, I'll go ahead and check it into source control. I use source control called Git. Look it up, GIT. Super useful. And that's essentially just it's just like having a backup, right? We've all been in a place where you've written that term paper and you didn't hit save, and all of a sudden you're writing it all over again. So Git does it just saves your code, and you can just annotate it and say talk about the change that you made, um, and it just gives a nice history so that if anything ever goes wrong, or you know, I've recently had situations where I I put out a change and then all of a sudden a certain metric tanks, like everyone stops purchasing, right? And you don't know exactly why, but you know you can go back to the previous state easily because it's saved there in Git. Why was I saying that? Where was I? Um, so um, yeah, man. Um, yeah, and anyway, using these tools is so much easier to build than it's ever been before, right? So able to get that migraine tracker out within the week, and now the challenge is, okay, are my keywords going to work? Well, I shared in the group today, well, late last night, I said, hey, it's ranking at number 12 for migraine tracker, right? At the time it was. By the time I woke up this morning, it had dropped to like number 32 or 36 or something, right? It hadn't been ranking at all. Like the algorithm can be a little bit funny, um, but like sometimes you'll launch and things will start ranking right away. And if you're looking at a search term that has pretty good volume and you're able to rank within the top 10, or better yet, the top five, then you can start getting downloads for free on day one. And so, like, I love that. But this app did not start ranking. It was nowhere for the first 2 3 days. And then all of a sudden it just jumped to number 12 for migrant tracker. So I was excited about that. I want to try to, of course, get my mom, dad, wife to leave me a rating on the App Store. I asked some friends to do it, but it dropped back to number 35. But like I said, because I think that this app has some fairly weak competition, it can be able to potentially rank. And then I also like the opportunity because I like that it's doing something that people need to do, right? And then also the market leader there has some shortcomings that if you go into the App Store reviews, they'll tell you what they don't like. So then you can just build your stuff differently. So I just went ahead and used that as intel, and Claude and I came up with our plan, and hopefully we build something that they'll like a little bit better. So um yeah, yeah. Um I mean, hopefully that helps to give a little bit around my philosophy on app growth. Another thing that we're doing now, so with StyleShare, um I focus mostly. StyleShare is our hair app that I was talking about. So I focus mostly on the product side, even though I am experienced on the growth side. Nate is really really good at growth, and he's more so coming from an e-commerce lens. But a lot of the stuff is just it's the same thought processes that go into it. It can just be different tools and you know like some major difference. There's not the same level. You don't have to carry inventory when you're doing apps, but a lot of the thinking ends up being the same. And so Nate has been running growth, and he's built like we have a number of TikTok accounts running for the app, and that sends quite a bit of traffic to the app store, and it's some of our best converting traffic because people will see our videos or slideshows, and they'll see them on TikTok. They'll say, "Hey, I think it's cool. I want to try that out." And those people, out of all the people that we get trying our app, those are the people that tend to be the most ready to buy. And they'll just come. Like you'll see, we actually get a much better conversion rate from that traffic, like both conversion to downloads and then conversion to people that actually purchase something and become customers, right? And I believe that's because they already kind of made their decision just based on the content, as opposed to the people that search on a keyword. Like some of them still do convert as well, but we see that happen at a lower percentage, right? Um, but what? So anyway, my point here was just that you know we talked about how you can use, they call it organic social, but just posting on TikTok, and he posts the same content also to YouTube Shorts, to Instagram. It's just that TikTok right now is distributing it the best for us. And then we also like double down on that strategy. So Apple Search Ads allows you to bid on, I mean, you can bid on any keywords you want, but you can bid on your own brand terms. And for a long time I thought that was the stupidest thing in the world, because like if people are already searching for, like, we already rank number one for style share and the different variations of style share. So you would think, okay, if people are searching for style share, why would you want to advertise there, right? You're already number one. People will land, they'll click, they'll see you, and why would you waste money and just like cannibalize your own search? But it turns out, so in the App Store, in the search results, the very first search result is always an it's always an ad, unless there's no ads running against that term. The first search result is an ad, and now they added another ad as the third search result. And so even if you rank number one, you're really shown second, like, right? You're shown between ad number one and ad number two. So a lot of people will come in and just click on the top thing, and if it looks good, they'll download that, even though they came based on your content. Unless your brand is super, super, super strong and people know they're looking for Nike or whatever they're looking for, they may, somebody else may be getting um, your clicks and your downloads and your revenue, right? Just because you don't want to advertise. Oh, let me see. I hope I'm still on. So now we actually do bid on our own terms, and the good thing about bidding on your own terms is that it's the cheapest traffic that you're going to get, right? So we don't pay anything close to what we would have to pay bidding on different terms. And then a lot of the people that get directed to the App Store from TikTok, it's kind of like we just TikTok gets them to the door, and then the Apple search ads just picks them up at a low price, kind of thing. Hopefully that makes some kind of sense. um, but yeah, so in short, and I guess this will be better when I have. I wonder if there's a chat. I'm not even seeing it, but yeah, it'll be great. Someday I'm gonna figure out how to yeah, I'm gonna figure out, how to let people respond to me. I think that'll be great. You know what? Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I'm sure there must be a chat, but oh snap! I just so I just opened up the chat. Only 35 minutes into it. So Fritz man, what's up? Qua, I hope I'm saying your name correctly. Yes. Well, is this my full time? Yes, I'm a streamer now. My full time is streaming, but I'm also yeah, my full time is mobile apps right now, and now my full time I'm a streamer. Um, and yeah, thank you guys for uh jumping on with me. Um, but yeah, that's kind of how I approach app growth, and then it's going to be just slightly different for every app. So, doing the ASO thing got style shares to a certain point, and then adding TikTok in got it to another point, and then figuring out the stuff with search ads got it to another point. Now we're working with search ads. They have a new kind of campaign called Max Conversions, and that helps it go to a different point. So it's like even though there are all these like standard pillars that you can use for the app, every situation is a little bit different. Everybody's skill set is a little bit different. So it's always going to be a little bit different. So let's see. I think let me just take a look right here. Oh, you know what? I'm a little bit. I'm gonna be right back. Don't go anywhere. I just need to grab my drink real quick. Right back. Yeah, let's definitely chat more, man. Definitely chat more. Let me know more about what you're building, and let me know how to pronounce your name as well. I want to say Qua, but I'm not for sure about that. But thank you for jumping on the chat. Um, so I got my drink. I drink way too many of these. Hey, maybe they'll sponsor someday, right? So let's see. Where do I want to go with this now? So talked about why I want to do this show, kind of, jumped into app growth a little bit. Um, let's see. Let me talk a little bit about my so we're going to call this section portfolio review, and I'm just going to dive into what's going on with my different apps. I have a lot of apps. I think I have, man, somewhere between 15 and 20 apps live on the App Store. I have a number on Google Play that I don't pay attention to, and I do want to resurrect at some point when I can get back to them. But um, yeah, some of them I've been working on lately. Like kind of like we talked about, just building the app isn't enough. So I do have some apps that I feel have value, but just haven't been promoted right, and I've actually been able to get some life into some of them. So I don't know. Let's touch on there is well with Q with Q in front of it. Oh wow, QL. Am I saying that correctly? QL. It sounds like that what you said, but we'll talk, man. We'll talk. Um, so portfolio review. We have StyleShare. StyleShare, man, it's been interesting. It's about 6 months old right now, and not sure how many users we have right now. It's getting around. I think we're at around 400, 500 downloads per day, which is a good number for me. Good number for most indies. We want to get into the thousands, right? And funny thing happened. This app was scaling, scaling, scaling. Of course, we've had our spikes and we've had times when it's leveled off, and even times when it's declined. Like the past month was a bit of a decline month, and now we started. going back up again. Um, but we crossed the what do you call it, 100K ARR, 100,000 annual recurring revenue mark a little while back, and then we hit our high end revenue. I think the app made about $850. That was on um June 10th or June 12th. I think June 10th. And then right after that, things started going south, and it was like we couldn't figure out why. Like the conversion rate, actually June 10th was great. June 11th was decent. June 12th was great. And then things started going downhill, and we just could not figure out why. Right? So, like, we did all sorts of stuff to try to reverse the problem. Started rolling back different chain. Like, we rolled back so we rolled back so much stuff for no rhyme or reason, but just trying to eliminate, like, do a process of elimination and figure out what's going wrong with this app. Nothing pretty much worked, so we just rolled stuff back for no reason. Um, and eventually, we kind of landed on the issue was that we weren't getting the same level of delivery. Like, it wasn't even an app problem; it was a change in our traffic. So, um, we weren't sending the same level of traffic from TikTok anymore, and TikTok was where we're getting the best conversions from. And it's funny because the change wasn't in the content we were producing for for TikTok. Um, the change was the way we were commenting. So the yeah, I agree. We can make more, like, just based on some of my other apps, but it's early in the game, so we will. I'm not too worried about it. And yes, we are A/B testing the onboarding and paywall. Yep, for sure. Um, but the change. So the change we experienced was what the hell was I saying? um, yeah. Oh, so commenting. So um, we're still putting out the content onto, or rather, let me say, Nate was putting out the content across our different TikTok. We did lose a couple TikTok accounts, and when I say lose, I just mean that, like, the TikTok algorithm can be funny. Sometimes they'll just stop pushing your content if they feel like something is wrong with your account. So that happened to one or two of our accounts, and I ca- I think that in some cases you can revive them, but um, in this case that wasn't happening for them. So um, yeah, we lost a couple accounts, but then part of the way that we were distributing the content was through comments on the post, and, like, following up with people who commented on our stuff. So Nate did a lot of commenting, and after our stuff was going really well, that slowed up a lot, right? And it took a while before anything really changed with how the content was being delivered, but eventually it did change, and we just didn't put together that that was the major thing that happened. So it's really interesting because you don't often hear people talk about commenting, right? It's more, you hear about content, and yeah, true, fair point. But like, commenting can also be an underrated weapon in the strategy, and maybe I'll talk more about that someday. um so StyleShare, another interesting thing with StyleShare, we were approached by somebody who wants to buy StyleShare. It's, and so I was approached by, I was reached out to by the broker, I guess, or the bank, whatever you want to call it. Let's call him broker. Um, and so I had a conversation with him. I think that was last week. We already knew that we weren't. It's kind of early for us, and we think that there's a lot of growth ahead. So it kind of doesn't make sense unless they're just going to pay a ridiculous number. But I still wanted to take the call. I think it's good to just meet people and learn from people, develop relationships. So I spoke to him. He was a nice guy, based in Dubai. And funny thing was, I actually knew the so I know one of the founders of the company that he was representing. And so yeah, that's funny. He's a nice guy too, very successful in apps. Um, and yeah, it's just kind of early for us. The broker told me that they, they typically they do deals anywhere from 2 times annual revenue or annual profit. I forget what he said, but 2 times annual. To be most likely profit. That's typically how it's done. But 2 times annual, up to 10 times on the high end. He said that's rare, but if they really want it, they'll go that high. But typically, it's in the 2 to 3 range. And for me, the 2 to 3 range, that's just where most deals are done in this space. So that's really not super unique. If you want to do a deal like that, you can kind of always find a deal like that. There are a lot of buyers willing to do 2 to 3. Um, the buyers may differ in, I guess, the speed they move with, their communication and stuff. But I guess, long story short, it's not really the time that we want to sell anything. So we didn't move forward. But I still got to chat with my buddy on the side about it because he still wants me to do it. Um, so let me see. Style share. Oh, I guess one cool thing there is we're ranking really high for some of our main keywords there, so that's helpful. Um, and then we're also, well, let me wait to talk about the other stuff to see if it happens or not. So we're exploring some opportunities that are very interesting. I already talked about the migraine tracker, and then yeah, I've been going back and just trying to trying to see if I can um, get traffic for if I can get some of my other apps that are just kind of dormant there that I think have potential, if I can get them to rank for stuff, and some of them are, and it's when you can do that, that's just like it's like found money, right? And it does take some effort, but yeah, I think that is like you already have the asset anyway. You put effort into getting it up on the store, and you might as well see if it can bring in something recurring or even become something significant in some cases. So um, I'm working on that. So um, migraine tracker, style share, small app recovery. Yeah. Um, I guess that's my portfolio review. Oh, the one other thing I'll give you is I've been working with this man. I guess I'm giving them free promo, but I like them a lot. So I've been working with this company called Encore Kit, which has been pretty cool. And what they do is they allow you to like show offers for companies like Apple Music, Apple TV, Audible, all these different like free trial offers. Sometimes it is 25% off or 50% off, but you can use their offers as an incentive to get people who didn't want to pay for your app. You can offer them something for free, like some kind of free trial or whatever the case may be. And then the brand will they'll pay you for for however many of your users like accept their offer, right? But in order for them to accept the offer, they also need to do like a free trial with you, so they could end up turning into a conversion for you. So yeah, it's really interesting. Anybody doing a subscription app, I think it's worth looking into. um, Hey, maybe Encore could be my Encore and Monster sponsor me. Well, I probably need to get more people on the stream, but it'll look good. Um, all right, so let's see. Next, I thought it would be pretty cool. I want to jump into a story time. So, do we have enough time for that? Yeah, I'm gonna tell a quick story, and this is a story that I've shared on. Man, maybe I don't have enough time for this story time. Let me see. Yeah, let me before we wrap up. That's what we'll do. We're gonna do a story time, and this is this is about an app. Coincidentally, Nate and I worked on this one as well. So StyleShare is our second app together. This one was our first, and Nate actually he got into the app game. I had this app course years ago, and um, he was a part of that, and he created his first app through that, and hadn't created an app for maybe 10 years or so up until this first one that we did together. That one was going super well, right? Uh, we didn't spend any money on advertising, but it had just it got locked into a very powerful keyword so well that it just kind of took off, and yeah, it was amazing. And then our second one, Style Share, has also been quite good. So we have a good, I guess we're a good team. But let's see, how did this come about? Um, so, all right, we we had decided to again. Nate came to me. We're shopping ideas, and he had one of his ideas was that we were going to like there were all these apps in the there were apps in the dating space to help young guys learn how to talk to women, right? uh I'm not sure if they're serious, that they're for jokes, but a lot of these apps, let me not say a lot, there were probably a handful of them, like 3 to 5, that were very, very successful, but there was nothing really on targeting women in that space. And it's not that we thought it was going to be exactly the same. Like these apps offer pickup lines. We didn't think that was the same. There'll be the same kind of appeal the on the women's side of things. However, um, we thought that you could still offer some level of dating analysis, compatibility test, put a score around it, learn do's and don'ts of communication. So we created an app like that. And then as we were getting ready to bring it to market, at the time I had been doing a podcast with an app friend of mine, Darius, and um, I found out about an app in the like the dating space that was taking off, and through some research I was able to find some like keywords that were super super hot, but only had like probably less than 10 apps directly targeting them. And um not only was this keyword like just have incredible like, to put it in perspective, people were searching for this keyword probably on the same level that people search for Twitter, something like Twitter. But it was an app that was vibe coded by, I think it was vibe coded, but it was built by a small team, right? Um, and so last minute, we just decided to incorporate this keyword as part of our title. And once we put the app on the store, we start ranking for this keyword, and we chose, there was like a there was a cluster of keywords related to this app. So we chose one that nobody else was targeting, or maybe there were a couple very poor apps, like they had no traction that were targeting them, and so we went after the sub keyword, and right away we're able to start ranking very high, and we just start getting a lot of downloads. And initially, we're getting downloads, and we had a free trial on the app, and people are signing up for the trial. We're getting all these downloads, we're getting all these trials, but nobody's converting. We decide to switch from a free trial to a direct payment, and it's the kind of thing where there's so much curiosity around it that a lot of people. What we did, we switched to direct payment, and then um, because I was trying to get let me speed this story up because it's going too slow. But I was trying to get people to actually leave us more reviews. So um, I set up, like, we set up some quiz questions that just to get people excited about using the product. I forget exactly what the questions were, but we had 3 or 4 questions that led into a ratings prompt where we asked for a rating, and then after that we showed the paywall. And I was just expecting this to help us get more reviews, but the moment we put that in, we started getting all these people were now just not just coming in the app, but they were purchasing, right? Because it turned out that, I guess, the quiz just kind of primed them to be more excited to use the app, and they were purchasing at a high rate. And so now all of a sudden, okay, we're in business and we start making money, and this thing just keeps increasing and increasing. It's just going up every day, right? And eventually, we get to the point, like, we both had notifications turned on our phone connected to the Revenue Cat app. Revenue Cat is the app that we use to report on our subscriptions and payments and stuff. And it was to the point your phone was just buzzing on your hip all day. It was just very, very, very exciting. Different kind of experience, right? Um, and one thing I noticed was that a lot of the apps in so a lot of the apps in this category were just not set up for success. And what I mean by that, including the top one. So they were built in a way it was just a walking privacy violation, right? So they allowed people to like I said, they were in the dating space, but their function was to allow people to it was supposed to be around dating safety, right? So they allow women to tell other women about different men and like what they thought about different men or their experiences with different men. But there was really no way to verify that what people were saying was true. Um, so people could just come in and just, you know, maybe say something true about somebody, or they could just lie about some, and nobody could really know the difference. And then people were also I don't know. There was just all kinds of all kinds of. I'm sure you can imagine that any bad privacy violation you could imagine was probably happening on this app. And then they also got hacked. Well, not even really got hacked, but like I mentioned, they vibe coded it. Somebody, they had like their database really wasn't secured. So if somebody was kind of savvy, they could just go right to the directory and look at all the stuff that was uploaded. So they were making people upload driver's licenses to so they could verify that people were really women. All of these driver's licenses could be downloaded, which somebody did, and they put these licenses up on a website. It was bad, right? So there was that, and then people just doing crazy stuff on the page. So I said, okay, I don't believe that this app can last, right? And there were other people in the category that kind of copied off of them, and anybody using that model I just didn't believe was going to be sustainable. So I thought to myself, now our approach to it, like our app, all our app did was um, we didn't have a situation where it was actually social. What it was you can upload your own text messages, and then it was going to give you an analysis, like a report based on that compatibility score. Um, here are the do's and don'ts of communicating with this person, and um, some other kind of like blurb. Like it was just that was it though. It was a one player game type of thing, right? So when I analyzed the situation, I said, okay, these people are all going to get kicked out, and we're going to get to the top of this keyword, and that was happening. Like um, that was happening like day after day. We would notice, okay, these people just dropped off, and we moved up a slot in the keyword. Like, and you could tell because your phone would start vibrating at a different frequency. Like before going bzz, 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 then it starts going bzz, 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 if that makes sense. And so it was all going super well um, until it was I think it was October 24th. So I'm about to go pick up my son from grandma's house, like I do on Fridays, and then I got an email from Apple saying that they were going to take our app down from the store. And um, basically, what it was, what they said that the reason was for copycat, and that wasn't the actual reason because, like, I don't know, I've been doing this for a long time, and we really, I don't know. There's different gray areas that you can play in, but we weren't even pushing anything far. Yeah, we had um, targeting similar keywords, but that happens all day, every day, in every category, right? Um, the problem was they had this negative attention from this, like the leader in the space that got hacked, and um, there was somebody came out with an app trying to like be the male answer to this app, and that app had a ton of problems as well, ton of the same problems. And so there were articles about these apps, and it just seems like Apple wanted to just shut everything down. So they just started kicking everybody related, indiscriminately out of the category. Like the day before, I noticed when the main leader, like the two main leaders I talked about, I noticed when they got kicked out of the category, and then our app started going crazy. Like we just started rocketing up, making more and more and more money. But then the very next day, that ended. Now, so of course, I'm writing to appeal, and I tried, I tried everything. I let them know we can change the name of the app. I let them know, of course, made my case. Hey, like, we're not doing these things in terms of the privacy violation. But the way the Apple is, if anything like that ever happens to your account or to your app, they tend to not want to be direct and tell you what the problem is. So, um, yeah, it's pretty tough. Once they decide that they don't like what you're doing, they just do that, and that's it. So I had a bunch of conversations over the next month, and it just became clear that there was not going to be able to wait. There was not going to be a way to get back on the App Store. And then at the same time, there was there was an app that snuck through. I guess, let's, like I mentioned, I got my app got wiped out on Friday evening along with the other apps in the category. But there was an app that got approved Friday morning, and I guess they weren't on the list to get to get removed. So that app now started to get all of the traffic that was going, that was being distributed amongst amongst a bunch of apps, and so that app was getting all the downloads, and I'd say um, they were probably making they were making between 30 to $50,000 per day. Um, at the lowest, it would have to be like $20,000 per day, and I was just watching this go on for a whole month. I would wake up in the morning at like three or four in the morning, just upset, and the reason being is just that the app actually they actually used more or less the same title as our app, which I really wouldn't have cared about, except for the fact that our app got removed for that. um, and yeah, they also, they chose the same business model of using AI to analyze the text messages, and this app was just killing, right? And it just seemed it's completely unfair that they're doing the same. They're doing the same exact thing. They even have the same name. So if they're able to do this, like, what is wrong with what we were doing? And we couldn't get a straight answer on that. Eventually, Apple did go back and remove that app as well. So that kind of closed the chapter for me. I said, okay, while um, while I'm not happy about what happened, at least they're enforcing things. I can deal with the same enforcement across the board, but if you're denying me the opportunity to make $20,000 to $50,000 per day, and somebody is allowed to do the exact same thing and do that, then I'm gonna have a problem. But that kind of yeah, that one, that was a pretty crazy story, and that is my story time for today, I think. All right, so we've been going on for about an hour, and I think it's mostly me talking to me. So I'm gonna call the stream there for today. Let's bring it to a close. I hope you enjoy the stream if you're watching it live or if you're watching on a replay. I'm definitely gonna do more. Definitely going to try to make sure to get more people on the stream to make it more interactive. But regardless, either way, it's something that I want to do. I think I find it's a win for me no matter what. But yeah, thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Um, if you want to stay in touch with what we're doing, of course, you can hit follow or subscribe on whatever platform you're on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube is the other one, or you can sign up for the list at moyo.ai, and I'll see you guys next time.